Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, House of Havoc proudly presents their podcast tag team champions of the world. The big guy, Chris Johansson, the muskrat Alicino, and as always, I'm that J-I-M-M-Y, the death of Kayfabe.
When you mention NXT, most people think of the show that is now on Tuesday nights. Almost everyone forgets that NXT started out as a tough enough style competition show looking to train the future superstars of the WWE. The first season stars were put together in a faction called Nexus and were catapulted to the main storyline of Monday Night Raw and even headlined the SummerSlam 2010 show. The stars of that faction have left a major mark in the wrestling business and changed the course of the WWE.
All right, guys, listen, Pat McAfee said it best. You got to look good to feel good. You got to feel good to play good. Well, we're going to help you guys look good with Saci di Dinero, all right? It's the finest Italian material. It's fire. It's comfortable. And we got a saving for you, all right? You're going to use promo code HAVOC for 10% off your total purchase at SaciDiDinero.com. Also, check them out over at Instagram at Saci di Dinero. Saci di Dinero, always authentic, never counterfeit.
So, Nexus. Their motto, you're either Nexus or against us. Said by Wade Barrett, one of the members. I'm pretty sure there were eight members, you said?
8 and then 7 when Daniel Bryan left.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's get into it before.
Well, Barrett was the winner of that show.
And that's how he was
so the whole reason NXT at Nexus came together, Wade Barrett wins season 1.
And that's how he's the leader.
Which guarantees him a contract. Now the rest of these guys from NXT did not get a contract because they didn't win. So their goal was they're gonna fuck our shit up until everybody has a contract.
Now, didn't these guys they were partnered with superstars
Yeah, they had coaches. So
like
the
the
Miz
one-
was Daniel
but
Bryan's
that's
coach.
the one that I remember the most.
Well, that's because that's the big culmination at that SummerSlam,
Right,
which we
right.
will get to. So it's Wade Barrett, it's David Otunga, it is Skip Sheffield, better known as Ryback. What's the guy's name who used to wear the skeleton pants? Justin Gabriel, Daniel Bryan.
Otunga,
I said Otunga. Who's the other?
Tarver,
Darren
Tarver.
Young.
Michael Tarver,
Michael Tarver and Darren Young.
Darren Young. Yep, that's the first iteration of the group.
Yeah, the
The
Nexus,
the
the
original,
first
yeah.
Nexus.
You said Slater too, right? Slater, you said.
Didn't say Slater, but Slater also, the
Slater,
one-man
yep.
band, Heath Slater.
Yep.
My guy.
They had that incredible. Wasn't their debut on that Raw when they beat up everybody and destroyed the ring, or was that not the debut?
I think that
They
was...
debuted June 7th, 2010.
But was that Raw?
Oh,
where
I got to.
The main event was Punk and Cena for the strap, I believe, and then all of a sudden Barrett came out, and then the whole rest of the first season of NXT came out, and they got down to the ring. They beat up Punk, they beat up Cena, and then they tore the ring up. They beat up the Dapper Yapper. They beat
And
up Cole.
this is the same opening night as when Daniel Bryan choked him out with his own tie and got fired. Is that this?
No.
The group made its debut June 7th, 2010 on the Viewer's Choice edition of Raw. On the main event, Punk faced Cena.
Yeah.
And then, yes, they attacked Cena, Gallows, Jerry Lawler, Matt Stryker, Michael Cole, Justin Roberts, Timekeeper, Mark Eaton. I don't know why we're calling that guy out. During the attack, Cena got taken out on a stretcher. Daniel Bryan strangled Roberts with a necktie.
Yeah, he got fired. For
He
that,
spit
though,
in
didn't
Cena's
Did
face.
he get fired for that?
Yeah, he got fired and then they brought him back.
And
And
he-
he legitimately was strangling Roberts with the
Yeah.
tie. Like, he was actually choking him.
Yeah, and he spit in Cena's face, which led to the release of his contract. They felt that they were too violent for the PG programming. His absence was explained by Barrett on June 14th, saying he felt remorse for his actions. They kicked him out of the group. He claimed that it was a violent arrival, and the whole nine. The rest is history. He comes back.
Brian didn't come back until SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't remember that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I remember he was like the surprise guest was that
The surprise member of the
not
team
guest, the surprise member of the team. Right?
Yeah.
teased it with it being Miz and the whole nine.
So-
but
Well, here's the thing: when you look at that roster of that time period, like the only real new guy that they had at the time was Sheamus. Everybody else was like a vet, so they needed this boost.
Well,
of
let's do it this way.
young talent.
So what do we think? Let's just do it this way. What do we think about overall the group Nexus? What do we think?
Overall failure.
I think no, I don't think you could say it was a failure. I think
Don't break down the people in the group. I want to know what you thought about the group.
So this is, as a group of the Nexus, they did their job by bringing in these new guys in a way that makes sense to throw 7 new faces on TV at the same time, because the NXT fan base, even at that point, is way less of the main roster fan base as it is today. When you look at if you look up any top 10 list of the Nexus matches involving the Nexus, 7 of them are I want to say singles matches, but it's involving Wade Barrett as a singles wrestler, or 6 or 7 of them are.
Right.
So outside of Wade Barrett, and I mean, I'm not really counting Daniel Bryan because he was there for one night and then gone. So outside of Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett, Darren Young had a little bit of run as a joke with the primetime players. Ryback, we know the story with him. Michael Tarver, I had to look
Ryback
up.
was the main event, though. You can't discount that. He was the main event for
but for the character Skip Sheffield, it didn't work. He went back down to NXT, reworked himself.
Right, but we're just talking about
So I'm talking for Justin Gabriel, another guy, never worked out for him.
So you're saying like the initial payoff did not pay out for them, is what you're saying?
For them, yeah. For those, Otunga had whatever issues he had, wound up relegated to backstage work and calling matches. Michael Tarver was never heard from again. Heath Slater largely became a joke of a character. Wade Barrett's really the only one that took momentum from Nexus and rode it out.
Yes.
Because the rest of these guys either went back to developmental and were going to try something new. The Nexus didn't do anything for any of these guys, really, besides Wade Barrett.
Well, I think, in my opinion, from June until August when SummerSlam happened, they were the number one storyline on WWE. And even to have a build to the arguably the second or third biggest pay-per-view of the year is important because, like I said, it got all these guys on TV. They all, for the next year after this, they all were on TV regularly on WWE TV, whether it was SmackDown, Superstars. I mean, they were on the show. You know, Ryback, yes, he had to go back down and fine-tune himself. But the reality was that none of these guys were really ready except for maybe Barrett. Barrett was probably the most ring-ready competitor, and Bryan was too, but Bryan wasn't a Vince guy.
Yeah,
so that's why Bryan was not viewed upon it.
On night 1, he got himself legitimately fired.
Right, and he was just healing it up. I understand he didn't do what in WWE's mind was proper.
It probably would have been fine if it was a wrestler.
Yeah,
but this guy is not a wrestler.
Right, he's like a little guy. Vince never liked him. He, with the whole storyline with Miz, they were shitting all over him. I mean, I remember that storyline more than I remember any of the other storylines. Involving the wrestler coach and NXT guy.
Right, I don't remember who the other guys' coaches even were.
But I think this was a big risk for them to take, to put these 7 inexperienced guys on TV and be catapulted to the main storyline. I mean, you're in the ring with John Cena.
So this is what I wanted to say. We talked about before with Hangman having a good program and 2 good matches with Daniel Bryan. And we said, who? And then with Kenny, who were they with? Who was he tied to? Because that mattered. You say the Nexus was in the main programs on Raw from June to SummerSlam, but who were they feuding with?
Well,
John Cena.
Right.
So yes and no, because John Cena is going to take a feud with Hornswoggle and put it on his back for 2 months if you asked him to.
No, right. But I think you're discounting, because it takes 2 to tango. It can't, yes, Cena carried that program and it supremely benefited them. But it also it made the WWE interesting at that point in time because there was nothing going on. Like I said, the only if you look at the SummerSlam card, that 2010 SummerSlam card.
Yes.
I mean, what do you have? You have Big Show was wrestling Edge.
I didn't watch the whole card when I went back to watch it. I only watched that main event.
I don't have my notes in front of me. I left these particular notes at work, but I think it was like Big Show and Edge, Mysterio and Kane. Randy Orton and Sheamus. And Sheamus at that point, I think he debuted in 2008, and now he was the WWE champion. He had just come off that feud with Hunter. And he was really the only new face in the company at that point that was kind of getting over. They had nobody else getting over. So I think they used bringing these guys up and feuding them with Cena to try to we need new stars to get over because it's like you have all these older injury-prone guys.
I don't want to jump the shark too much here, but so that June they debut. That August is the SummerSlam, the WWE versus Nexus match, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if either one of you guys know this. That match was booked for Nexus to go over,
Mm-hmm.
and Cena had it changed at the 11th hour. and everybody in the room, everybody involved besides Cena, everyone with the Nexus, JR, who was responsible for a
Thought he
lot of
was
booking at
joking.
the time, they thought it killed all of the momentum that they had, and it made zero sense. And they're right.
They are right.
And
Okay,
go ahead.
I'm just gonna say from a standpoint of putting them together, I think it was genius on WWE. I just think the execution was bad.
Well, it's
I know there was a bunch of green guys, but you name these guys, and then later there's a few other people that joined that we'll get to, but they're all like these are all legit guys. We've mentioned three or four of them in today's show.
Well, like not for nothing, the primetime players were an over tag team at the time. Yes, they were a joke tag team, but
I consider them a success.
they were over. Justin Gabriel, like he didn't really do much, but
Never sticked.
but he was on.
But he had ability.
on TV every single
Because
week.
they were trying. Well, with the Nexus, you mean?
No. I'm saying
No, even after the fact, he was.
He
on
would
for a
go
little bit.
down and up and down and
Yeah,
up
yeah,
and
yeah.
down
He
and
was
up
on
and
TV every single-
yeah,
my-
because
my-
they
my-
were willing to kick the tires on everything before they decided this guy was a failure because
Right.
he was so
I mean, my
athletically
point
talented.
is like it did help all. Wade Barrett became one of the top heels in the company for a 5-year stretch. You know what I mean?
Until they ultimately buried him.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down before we get into the whole Cena thing at SummerSlam. I'm going to go down the list of every member, right? Even the second little group that came.
When Punk took over.
Nexus 2.0.
Yeah. And you just tell me
The new Nexus.
you just tell me if
The
they
new Nexus.
the new Nexus. Yes. You just tell me if they had a successful career. We can call it a successful career, or we won't. So Wade Barrett,
Yes,
Successful.
right? Daniel Bryan,
obvious.
I mean, come on.
Darren Young.
Now this is where it gets arbitrary because
Here we are.
what did he want out of his career? Because if he
No,
just
not
wanted,
what he wanted. Would you consider it a success?
Well,
No.
Here's the thing.
if you consider it a success that you're working and that you're doing TV regularly and people know who you are and you have a T-shirt, then yes. But if you consider success as being viewed as a guy, I don't know.
Well,
He's not a guy.
I'm going to give Darren Young's an interesting case because Darren Young was a gay man at a time when it was not,
First one came out.
Well, the first one to come out, and this was at a time when it was still not viewed as it is today. So for him, being in an industry that I don't know if anybody saw the Dark Side of the Ring with Chris Kanyon, a guy who stayed in the closet. Even though everybody knew he was gay, he wouldn't come out of the closet because it was so taboo, and he didn't want the wrestlers to think differently of him. And Darren Young could have been in that same position where he's not taking the chances because if it comes out that he's gay, then I'll get fired or whatever. Because at that time there was nothing protecting him like that, like it is today.
Right.
So I'm gonna say he was successful in that he was a working wrestler on WWE television for a good 5-6 year period. So yes,
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. It determines.
From that standpoint, I'm not saying it's like
It's
no,
determined by how you measure success.
He's not going to ever sell the most amount of T-shirts. He's never going to sell the most amount of action figures. He's never going to be considered one of the greats.
He
of
was
all
never
time.
positioned as a prime
And
time
he's in
player,
New
no
he's
pun
in New
intended.
Japan right now.
Is he?
Yep.
Good for him. Didn't
Yes.
even know that.
So he's still working.
So I'm going to consider it a success.
I'm going to say success as like I said.
All right.
In the sense that he was on TV every day.
Skip Sheffield Ryback.
I'm going to
Success.
say no.
Not you're saying no from the standpoint of and Nexus did not catapult him to stardom. He got over on his own.
Well, and also like the reason that I'm saying no is because of the way that it went down for him as Ryback, and
It's a yes, dude.
you have multiple people who are well respected in the business that didn't want to work with him because he was dangerous.
Right. Okay.
So that's why I'm like yes and no. Yes and no. He did plenty of
Okay,
getting over.
but
I mean, he sold a ton of T-shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Danny Collins, Danny from the Bun, his favorite wrestler.
So
of all time.
Nexus
which
took
is insanity.
WWE took Nexus, took 12 guys, right, who were all green, basically, right, with the exception of maybe Wade Barrett at that time, right, and Daniel Bryan. Put them in a group over a 12-month period and said, here you go, make it work, right? And we go down the list, Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, Darren Young, Ryback.
Keep going though. Keep going.
It worked. So for 4 it worked. Like they did what they had to do. They sold T-shirts, right? Four of those guys. So okay, 5.
Well, if you're arguing that the Nexus made it work, then I'm a definite no on Ryback because
No, I'm
if,
just saying.
if Nexus worked for
WWE,
Ryback, we'd
no.
be calling him Skip Sheffield.
I'm saying WWE could have chose somebody else, but they chose Ryback,
right.
and it worked out. They chose that guy, right? So he was chosen.
So keep going.
Michael Taver.
Michael Tarver, no.
Tarver,
No.
failure.
Go
Failure.
on, never heard from again.
Fine, great. Justin Gabriel.
No.
From the standpoint of being on TV every week, yes, as like a successful over with the fans wrestler. No.
The
Fine.
fans wanted him to be successful and
Right.
wanted
Right.
him to get over, but
Fine.
him and Bo Dallas are both. That's how they're in the
He's-
same conversation.
Gabriel was too bland. He was a great wrestler, great technician, amazing
He's
aerial
like
skills.
Ricochet.
Right, but there's no personality.
Fine. Heath Slater.
Success.
Absolute success.
Again, if you're gonna say, did he become?
I'll
a
say
success?
yes because he worked for so long, but and he's still working.
And he got that gimmick over. That I got kids gimmick. He got that. Well.
And the one-man band
And the
gimmick.
one-man,
And the three-man band
No,
gimmick.
he's a success, dude. Flat out.
He was
flat out.
successful with
David
what the role he was
Otunga.
given. No.
Otunga, as a wrestler, no. As a
As a play-by-play guy, no.
he was better.
Didn't do it for me.
See, I feel like yes. I feel like he had a career. I feel like yes, he had a career.
He was on TV. He was like doing that manager thing for a little while with the girls. I mean,
The 13th member, fake, only for a month, John Cena, obviously. I'm not going to count him.
we're not counting him.
Husky Harris.
No, in the sense that Nexus and the NXT and the Husky Harris character didn't do anything out of this.
Yeah, but they
I
knew
mean,
that. They
Was
knew
Bray
that-
Wyatt successful? Yes, but it wasn't
I-
because of NXT or Nexus.
I just want to point something out. The Bray Wyatt character came out of the bullying that Punk did because Punk singled out Husky Harris and bullied him, and out of the ashes of Husky Harris came Bray Wyatt. Because you're gonna bully me, you're gonna treat me this way, I'm gonna show you, and then that's when he grew the beard out, and that's when he developed the Bray Wyatt character. And I think if you look at it from that standpoint, the Nexus did help him. Because his storyline when Punk was taken over was the most memorable of all the storylines. Because Punk, I don't know if you remember, but he singled out Husky Harris. He was like smacking him across the face, and then he would the camera would zoom in on him, and he'd give like this look, like I'm gonna fucking kill this guy if he touches me again. So I think Nexus did help him in getting to the Bray Wyatt character.
CM Punk.
I mean, no, Punk was Punk before that.
Yeah, Punk did not need the Nexus to get over.
Mason Ryan.
No,
Who the fuck's that guy?
Mason Ryan did not work out. He had the greatest look of all of them, but did
He
not
did,
work out.
yeah.
He looked amazing.
And the last one, Michael McGillicuddy.
Curtis Axel. Success.
So he is a success. I don't know if Nexus is the reason he was a
Forget
success.
that. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about
Quickest champion coming out of Nexus, IC champ.
they.
He won that title because of his dad.
That's what I'm saying. That's the
But
you
they
didn't
took-
let me finish. My point that I was making is they love second, third, fourth generation
Yeah.
superstars. They love keeping it in the family. They love the fact that they could advertise that this is Kurt Hennig's son,
Right.
and that helped him more than the Nexus probably did. Success, I'll call it a
All right,
success.
so here's what we're saying. You're saying that Nexus didn't do anything for these guys,
And what I'm
I'm
saying
were
is,
they successful because of the Nexus?
No. And
That's
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying,
saying.
what I'm saying is,
I don't
that-
think you can argue that.
what I'm saying is Vince said he didn't just say Jimmy, Whitey, and Anthony getting the group of guys that he selected to try to make Nexus work, whether it did or not. He was correct with almost all of them. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That 2 of 12 were never to be heard from again. The rest of them went on to be a good, have a somewhat of a career.
So can we say this? Can we say had the booking been correct, then all these guys could have been successful wrestlers?
Anybody,
I guess, but
almost anybody who passes a WWE tryout who is a wrestler who isn't a guy that WWE tries to take and create into a wrestler, if the booking is right, could be successful. Because
But 5 of them became stars
That's
anyway.
like saying if they're in the right scheme and if they're right
You know what
in
I
the
mean?
right coaching system, could any football player be successful? Yeah, like
Say-
we've
say what
seen
you
that
just said
happen.
again.
5 of them became stars anyway.
Right. So I think they picked because all right. Let me give you I'm sure we discussed this before. Terry Taylor and Kurt Hennig, both of them came into the WWE. Terry Taylor got saddled with the Red Rooster gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Hennig got saddled with Mr. Perfect gimmick. Terry Taylor took literally the Red Rooster meant he's a fucking rooster. He's gonna make his hair into a red mohawk and he's gonna sit and go cock-a-doodle-doo in the ring. Because he didn't understand that what they meant by the Red Rooster was he was like the cock of the walk. He's the guy who's gonna be super cocky and come in the ring, show how good he is. Because Terry Taylor was a phenomenal worker. Kurt Hennig and Terry Taylor are almost interchangeable in how they worked. Perfect took the perfect thing and made that gimmick work, where Terry Taylor took that gimmick and couldn't get it to work. So, like, Wade Barrett took that gimmick that they gave him, this like British ass kicker, and he made that work. Justin Gabriel they couldn't come up with a character for him, and he couldn't come up with a character himself. That's why that didn't work. Not in spite of or because of Nexus, but because the booking did not work for them. You know, and again, nobody says Justin Gabriel is not a great worker. I'm just saying.
See,
Right,
the
but
problem
I don't
is
necessarily believe there's such a thing as a bad gimmick, only bad execution. Because
Yeah, but
disagree.
But are you putting that on the company, or are you putting that on the wrestler?
it's a combination of things. Like the one I'm always going to go back to is the New Day, because the New Day started off as a bad gimmick or bad execution or whatever.
Not bad execution.
And eventually they realized it's also awareness too, right? Because like those three guys realized and were self-aware that it wasn't working and they were probably on the way out, and they found a way to morph the gimmick and refine the gimmick and articulate their characters, and they've been one of the biggest things going in WWE for the last 10 years
But
now.
they made that work.
Right, so that's what I'm saying.
They are not. They are
It's the
nothing.
execution.
They're
It was-
nothing what they were supposed
It
to
was
be.
in spite of the company. Like
Yeah.
Vincent Ryan, who looked like a million. I mean, do you even know if I showed you a picture of him? Would you know who he is?
No.
I mean, look at that guy. If you're gonna draw, if somebody said to you, draw a picture of a professional wrestler, that's what you're gonna draw.
No. I mean, he does look. He's got the look for sure, but
Well,
I've
he
never.
was like 6'4", 6'4", shredded, good-looking guy. Like
6'5", 297.
6'5". So
Of-
what I'm saying is,
It's fucking 300 pounds and 7% body fat. Get the fuck out of here with
Yeah.
that.
so you put that guy in the ring and you give him this big monster heel gimmick, but he can't get it over. Dave Bautista, same exact gimmick.
So
He
funny.
got that over.
His ring name in his early days was the Celtic Warrior.
Was it?
Yeah. We said before he got on the show, right? This Nexus segment, that this was going to be shorter than Evolution, and I don't even know if that's true because it's not controversial. Evolution. This is controversial. We're getting into it at this point where it's like, talking about this.
Well, Evolution was kind of a byproduct of the Triple H reign of terror, where Triple H was
Right.
like,
Of
"No, I
course.
wanna get- I'm going to show you that I can get these two guys over. I'm going to show you that Ric Flair is still Ric Flair." Like that was a byproduct of that, where this was like, we're going to take a huge risk on these 7 guys, and hopefully they get themselves over.
We're also talking about Evolution, 2 surefire Hall of Famers at the onset.
No,
of it,
100%.
finishing with 4 surefire Hall of Famers. Right? I mean,
Right.
do you disagree?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the 7 that are standing in the ring waiting for the 7th member of Team WWE to come out, and show me one. Who's a Hall of Famer? Don't tell me Ryback.
There's
A legitimate, not will they make it in the Hall of Fame? Are they a legitimate Hall of Famer?
None of them.
None of them. 0. And that's how I measure greatness when it comes to factions.
all right, but you can say arguably.
Because look at the Shield.
Well, I was just
Yeah, but you're
gonna bring
taking the
Shield up.
bet. He's taking,
No, but they were no better or worse than any 7
When the
members of the
Shield-
NXT when
when
the
they-
Shield debuted.
when-
all 3 of them got a great gimmick, and within that gimmick,
They made it great.
and within that gimmick, they all had their own role in that
Well,
gimmick.
that's my point is like the wrestler is going to make, like, Vince McMahon doesn't present you with your, even if like Test, they could have taken Test back in the day and said, we're going to strap the rocket ship to you and make you the champion. Only Test was going to get there. Like Lex Luger, when Vince McMahon lost Hulk Hogan, he said, I need a new guy. He put all his stock into Lex Luger. Lex Luger is not championship material. He was a lazy bum who was too full of himself to get over. And I'm not saying this as in like against Hogan. I'm saying this as in like Vince did everything he could to get that guy to be the next Hulk Hogan, and he was never going to be Hogan because he's not Hogan. Bret Hart.
Okay,
was
I'm cool with that.
And the Shield could have went out there because everyone knows by now it's a whole different podcast and a long-winded conversation about how Punk needed guys to work because he was out of guys to work. We're gonna bring these 3 guys up. If the Shield, if they were up there for a month or 2 months or 4 months and it didn't work out and they wound up going back down to NXT, and then all of a sudden Roman Reigns shows back up from NXT wearing the trunks and looking like he was in NXT, you could argue that greatness is going to rise to the top regardless. But in this company, you're not 100% in control of your own greatness. Whereas in sports, like in a legitimate sport, if you're the greatest, eventually you're going to show it.
Right.
Part of being the greatest in professional wrestling is having the confidence and the trust of the powers that be. So if Roman Reigns came back and Seth Rollins came back up and the Shield didn't work out, you could easily sit here and make an argument where their contracts expire and they never wrestle for Vince again.
See, like
Because there's been plenty. Spirit Squad.
Right.
Vince did everything he could to get all 5 of the guys in the Spirit Squad over to eventually turn them into.
Yeah, but that's not a good gimmick.
Yeah, but the Shield wasn't necessarily a good gimmick.
That's such a good gimmick.
They were fucking laughing at it when they started.
Right.
That's such a good
When
gimmick.
Dean first got told this is what you're going to do, they all thought it was fucking stupid, dude.
I don't know
We're
how.
going to come out like
I don't know
we're a
how.
SWAT team and wear bulletproof vests.
And kick the shit out of everybody and be the most badass group.
Because they decided this is our opportunity. Once we get on that main fucking camera, we're never coming off.
they
So
made
we're
the
going to
best.
take this and make
I
the best of
understand
it.
that, but I think this.
Nobody decided
you
that for
can't
them.
compare the Spirit Squad and Nexus to the Shield. The Shield were given a really good opportunity right away, not only to work with CM Punk right away.
So,
Here's
but
the
the
thing, you're
Spirit
all-
Squad was Vince wanted it to work, so they were given more of a leash, and that makes up for the gimmick not being.
Yeah,
as
but
good.
here's the thing.
Because if
you're
it was a
being held
super
down.
hot gimmick,
Go ahead,
the leash
Wade.
would have been shorter. Go ahead.
WWE presents you with opportunity, and it's what you do with that opportunity that's either going to make or break it. You know what I mean? Like
I see what you said, but that's everybody says that. I like to think outside the norm. Everybody says WWE either presents you with opportunity or obstacles. It's your way you have to figure it out. There's no way people haven't gotten obstacles.
Let me put it to you this way: if Kurt Hennig and Terry Taylor were given the opposite gimmicks, Kurt Hennig would be known as the Red Rooster, and that character would be looked at the way that Mr. Perfect is looked at, where Terry Taylor was never going to get any gimmick over.
Yeah, and
because-
Mr. Perfect would be a joke.
Right.
Or it would have been recycled by
Exactly. They'd be like, oh, Mr. Perfect, how fucking stupid is that? But everybody
Right.
looks at Mr. Perfect as like one of the greatest bumping heels of all time.
I get it, but
because Mr. Perfect made that work. Like what Wiper was saying, the New Day made the New Day work. Like,
Yeah, but
you
what-
take the best these guys had Nexus, they were given this great opportunity, and like you were saying, like they were put in the ring with Cena, and then after that they didn't really know what to do with themselves anymore.
What about the Ringmaster or Stunning Steve Austin?
Right.
There's just a little step to the left, and we never get the Austin 316 moment.
okay, Kane,
And
Dr.
Kane is another example, but
Yeah, but you would see Glenn Jacobs get in the ring as Diesel, as Isaac Yankem, as any of these other characters that he was playing, the Unabomber.
Yeah, they were trying to make it work, and it wasn't working.
And
He was those are to see. That's something to me. Those were obstacles.
Yeah, but he persevered because everybody said, well, he's a good work. Like, look, Kevin Nash was Oz. They put him in this because Ted Turner bought the Wizard of Oz, and they put Kevin Nash, this giant, good-looking 7-foot guy, in he looked like this giant Wizard of Oz like goofball, and he tried to make it work. It didn't work. They put him in a tag team with Dangerous Dan Spivey as the not skyscrapers. They were the Master Blasters. You know, which were like these like Road Warrior type gimmicks. Then he was Vinny Vegas, where he's like, "Hey, I'm Vinny Vegas, hey." But then he gets to WWE, he becomes ass kicking Diesel. He made the most of that opportunity.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's not always just about.
my point is, if Kane, I'm not talking about Glenn Jacobs, the character Kane,
Yeah.
if that didn't work and that flopped, Glenn Jacobs is out.
No shit.
If Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't work, so I'm saying this was their last chance. They've already been through 3 gimmicks, and they were able to take that gimmick and make it work. Stone Cold did everything he could to try to make the Ringmaster work, and he did everything he could to try to make Stunning Steve Austin work. And he had the fucking powers that be of Paul Heyman behind him the
Right, but that's
entire
what I'm
time.
saying.
So
People say WWE gives you opportunity, and I understand that, but like really break it down. Opportunity doesn't. It's not all opportunity is not on the same level.
nobody scripted the Austin 316 promo for him. He did that. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I understand that. I'm saying, but like, get the Kane character. That's an opportunity. That's a legitimate opportunity.
Well, yeah, 'cause
I
you're
could
working
argue
with the
you
Undertaker.
you want to argue to me that the Kane character is cool, and I'm going to argue to you that the idea and the basis of the Kane character is fucking stupid.
It's goofy as shit.
It's goofy as hell.
Yeah, but
no,
you're
no,
You're
I
gonna
don't
have a
think so.
guy come out in a red, a
all
fire
red
engine
jumpsuit,
jumpsuit with
and
a
the whole
mask on.
gimmick is that his face is burnt off, and then we finally get to the reveal, and it's the most laughable thing.
I will win.
Yeah.
I will. Like, come on.
okay.
like-
But before that, who is he? Who is his brother?
The
Undertaker.
Undertaker.
And what is the Undertaker?
Yeah, I mean, yes, he gets the rub from
Like,
the Undertaker.
No. I'm saying Undertaker is a not a laughable gimmick, but like not a real world gimmick. So either is Kane.
He's the dead man.
You're-
The dead man.
You're-
He's a zombie.
Yeah, right.
Like,
So
who the
you're
fuck
right.
is
So you're
zombie?
taking a not realistic gimmick and pairing it with a not realistic gimmick, but it worked. So like, you know what I'm saying?
But the Undertaker, like, you know, Mark Calloway made that gimmick work.
They could have,
They could have put that on the Godfather. You know, at the time he was Papa Shango.
Yeah.
And literally he'd come out and he'd
Yeah.
and all this like goofy shit. You know what I mean?
Oh my God! All right, whatever. We're getting off topic. It's just funny how you view it that way.
But the point is like the guys that got over in the end, you know, the Daniel Bryans, the Wade Barretts, the Bray Wyatts, they got over because they were going to get over one way or the other. You know, and yes, there's obstacles that you have to get through, but again, it's you make the most of your opportunities. You know, John Cena, like, you know, he knew he was on his way out. He's like, I'm going to start rapping on the back of the bus. Stephanie McMahon finds him rapping, and now look at him. Now he's the
But they didn't set him up with those opportunities. He had to do it himself. But anyway, so SummerSlam, it's Nexus versus WWE, and quick tidbit of information here.
It's Old Man Brett. It's John Cena.
Brett, who can't take bumps.
Pro Wrestling Illustrated gives the feud of the year to Nexus versus WWE. Gives the most hated wrestler of the year to
Wade
Barrett, and gives,
I almost said Stu Bennett.
and gives Rookie of the Year to David Otunga. So go ahead. Go ahead. Just walk us through SummerSlam. Go ahead.
I mean, listen, Ahmed Johnson was the Rookie of the Year. Where's Ahmed? Do you even know who Ahmed Johnson is?
No. Well, I'm just telling you. Go ahead.
Thing with Otunga is I think he's a second or third generation guy too, right? Is it right?
No, I don't.
I think he's a second generation guy.
I'll look it up. But walk us through SummerSlam.
So the SummerSlam match, they do the whole program leading up to it where John Cena is decided, obviously, I can't take these 7 guys alone anymore. I've constructed a team that represents the heart and soul of WWE, even though it's guys that we don't all see eye to eye. And then they come out one by one. And it's Edge, it's Chris Jericho, it's Bret the Hitman Hart, it is John Morrison. And
I don't remember. To be honest with you, I didn't even watch the match, the main match last night. I watched most of the rest of the show because the NXT was involved, or Nexus was involved in almost the entire show.
Yeah.
They were like involved in all the matches and everything else, like really trying to establish their dominance.
So they eventually, Edge and Jericho, I think, leave the team. And then he gets Jericho to come back, but not Edge. Am I wrong about that?
That was after WrestleMania 26.
Yeah.
So that's when Jericho and Edge were in the middle of feuding, right?
Yeah.
And then Edge would go into the feud after this with Del Rio, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Believe so.
Yeah.
So he comes out and they think it's going to be 7-on-6 and the whole team comes out and then Cena grabs the mic and he's going to announce the 7th member and then awesome. And out comes The Miz, who thinks it's going to be him. And they go, no, Miz, it's not you. It's somebody who loves WWE way more than you. And then out comes Daniel Bryan.
Good booking.
They have the match. Great reaction by the Nexus, realizing that Daniel Bryan's back. And holy shit, what is this guy going to do? And it's an elimination style match. The most of the match, the work is good. The way it's done is good. The antics on the outside, the WWE. Is Jericho going to turn on them? Bret the Hitman Hart gets in there, drops a couple of bumps. I don't think he might bump himself, but it doesn't look good.
No.
He needs to spend the majority of the time on that apron.
Well, he could. He's not really supposed to be in that match. He can't wrestle.
Yeah.
He had that match with Vince where he just beat the shit out of Vince and ended up putting him in the sharpshooter at Mania. I mean, it was a joke.
And then ultimately,
Cena.
It's Cena and Bryan versus Barrett, right?
Yeah. No, it is Cena versus Gabriel and Barrett, the last 3.
Yeah, but Bryan was, I think, the second to last member with the...
Yeah, well, okay, yeah.
And so they're originally, Nexus is supposed to go over. Cena says, no dice, I won't do it. Cena goes over in typical Super Cena fashion. It definitely...
2-on-1 beats them both.
It definitely stomps out their momentum.
Yep.
I mean, so this is one of those moments where had this gone the other way, maybe we're talking about the Nexus as right up there with the Shield and everybody else, because you never know. When I'm talking about moments like the 316 moment and that, I don't know exactly when Kane's moment would be. Is it the Buried Alive match?
No, Kane's moment is the Hell in a Cell.
The Hell in a Cell.
When he rips the cage door off.
Yeah. This has that opportunity where if we see the pump handle slam and Barrett leads his team to victory and then they stomp out Cena, they're not going to lose the momentum. They're probably going to gain. At that point, they're gonna game the fans like me and you because we were all so sick of Cena being shoved down our throats for so long.
Right. So the
Barrett probably goes on to win a fucking belt.
Yeah.
the next night on Raw after that SummerSlam, they have 7 one-on-one matches with all the members. From
And whoever lost is out, right?
Whoever lost is out, and Randy Orton replaced Bret Hart.
Yeah.
Only one person lost, Darren Young. He lost to Cena. Just put more dirt on the fucking shovel a little bit more in there. They do credit it with the breaking up of the group. I mean, it's so tough. It's tough because they lasted 1 year, and then it just kind of fell apart. A week after that, Skip Sheffield breaks his ankle during a tag team match, and that put him out of action for almost 2 years.
I forgot about that. So that's probably, if he hadn't got hurt, things probably would be way different.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? So he might still be Skip Sheffield in the company,
Oh, I think he'd be out of the company regardless. I think just what make that. Yeah, I don't know what his real name. I think he changed his first name to Ryback.
He
but
fucking hates Cena.
He hates fucking Vince. He hates the whole thing, dude. He's willing
like,
to.
This piece of shit Cena won't even sign autographs for kids. It's like, shut the fuck up. You fucking big
Well,
old
nobody
bitch.
wants to work with you because you're known for hurting people and being dangerous. So shut up, Ryback.
And listen, Ryback, if you hear this, fuck you.
But like I said, like I said at the top of the episode, you look at the all of the highlights of the things that the Nexus were involved in, and it's Wade Barrett at the forefront of all of it.
Yeah.
Well, then,
Well, Barrett was the guy that they hitched the wagon to.
Yeah.
I mean, they liked the size of him. He was a good talker. He was a good heel.
He had a good look.
Yeah. I mean, he was a guy that you could see feuding.
Did you see the video this week? It was 10 years ago today. Wade Barrett took 2 consecutive RKOs from Randy Orton. And then, I saw it was on Twitter or something, and Stu Bennett, who is Wade Barrett, quote tweeted it with laughing faces, and he was like, "You really kicked my ass that day." He ate a fucking RKO through the chair to end the match.
God.
it says January 3rd. Now we're January 3rd. New Nexus.
Yes, now we're 6 months.
Yeah, but New
into the
Nexus,
future.
that was so in and out because wasn't that right after the Straight Edge Society?
They disbanded in September.
So they came in January. They stayed till September. They kept that group together till September.
No,
the Straight Edge Society disbands in September.
Disbanded September previous, 3 months later.
And then
he took over as the leader of.
But then when did the New Nexus break up?
Oh my! Let me see. I think it's
Because I the only thing I remember about that was him bullying Husky Harris.
July 17th, 2011. So 6 months.
Was New Nexus when they put Cena in, or was that the first iteration of the Nexus?
No, the first iteration.
So they put Cena in, and basically it's a stupid angle to begin with because even though he's in, Barrett's playing the whole time like you're not with us and undermining him, and Barrett ultimately throws him out, right? And it lasts maybe a month or something like that.
Yeah.
I think this was a great idea that had a lot of moving parts, that had a lot of upside. That was definitely just as the fire was about to start ripping and roaring, we dumped ice cold water on it at the main event of SummerSlam.
Right.
That's ultimately my take from the Nexus.
Well, it's like
And a lot of good workers that never quite got the character down.
if you look at historically WWE, it was Hogan and then kind of like a mishmash of a bunch of guys within the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels era, we'll call it. Then it was Stone Cold. Then it was Rock. Then it was Triple H. Then it was Cena. And now it's Roman. So Vince has always hitched his wagon to that one guy. And, where they call it the Triple H reign of terror, what Triple H did was no different than what Hogan did. He just did it from a heel standpoint. And what Cena did is no different than what Triple H did. He just did it from a face perspective.
Right.
And Roman now, he did it as a face. Now he's doing it as a heel. And he's just going to be there because that's Vince's guy. Vince will always have his guy. So I could see, and again, it's tough when your top guy is saying to you, I don't want to do this. The good old, that doesn't work for me, brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a shame that they squashed him out like that because Nexus could have been something,
I mean, Barrett could still be working. A lot of these guys could still be working.
Little footnote here. Darren Young, he stated not that long ago that Nexus was supposed to be originally booked and returned for WrestleMania 36 in 2020. He said in a documentary on the network, I don't know what documentary it is, but and they said it was canceled because Daniel Bryan walked away from the company.
Okay.
Otherwise, they would have had the full reunion.
Here's the thing. Daniel Bryan if you look at his career, has made everything he's ever done work.
100%.
Everything he's ever done has worked.
Slightly with the exception of Daniel Wyatt.
That worked.
Well, it worked.
It
just
worked.
wasn't
The fans
long-lived.
just didn't allow it to work.
The fans. Vince should have been like, "Fuck the fans. I'm just gonna go with it because it's working." Because he was incredibly when he put that jumpsuit on.
Yeah.
We knew that Vince never wants to say fuck the fans, because if Vince felt that way, the best thing to do would have been to turn John Cena heel anywhere from 2012 to 2016.
No, I 100% agree. I'm just saying, it not that it didn't work. It worked. It's just the fans didn't want it to work because they wanted him to be
And
the face.
just as a sidebar, forever everyone was worried about doing anything, getting too cute with Cena, because you don't want to lose the admiration and the T-shirts and everything else, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he's a completely unlikable piece of garbage for the majority of Peacemaker, and it has not hurt his image one bit.
Yeah, that's different.
And he's saying cunt and fuck and like racist stuff in character, and it's not hurting his.
Yeah, but it's.
And I think he's phenomenal as Peacemaker.
What Whitey's trying to
Two
say is
different
he's
audiences.
larger than I think he's
Two
larger than
different
life
audiences.
now.
It's you don't have all right. I don't mean to sound the bad way. You don't have the special needs people watching Peacemaker that I know. I mean, maybe they are, but they're not. Like Wendy would watch Peacemaker and she'd hate John Cena in Peacemaker. Where you and I love John
They
Cena.
differentiate.
You know what I mean?
But I feel like once you hit
But
that,
just the neurotypical kids are in the age, on the top end of the age group that we're looking at here, from 12 to 15, are 100% watching Peacemaker.
is it weird for me to say that Hogan never stepped out of Hogan, right? So Hogan was always like that larger than life character in WWE.
Yeah, but Hogan always worked as a heel from day one.
No,
all the way
I'm
through
just
his whole-
saying.
his whole career he works.
But people only viewed Hogan as a wrestler, right? And now The Rock and now Cena and like these guys have stepped out past wrestling. Like they've
but they're better than Hogan. Was not a good actor. Hogan was a terrible.
Well, I
actor.
know, but I'm
Yeah.
saying and for that
Where
reason,
The Rock is like he's at least believable.
for that
Cena
reason,
is
John Cena
believable.
isn't John Cena. He's
Cena's
Peacemaker.
good,
You know what I mean?
Cena's better than The Rock, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, you could tell he's gonna be better. Than
No,
The
yeah,
Rock.
100%. The separation between John Cena and the Peacemaker, Chris Smith character, for sure. But when you're looking at especially kids, I'm not making this up. This is something that I've read along the way. They're not going to be able to separate the two, and they were always worried about whether or not the ability to separate the two was. And I'm pretty sure when Cena finally, first of all, the company's in good hands because we got Roman is ready to be the guy, and he was ready to, if that wrestling image is destroyed, he was ready to walk away from wrestling full time for good in order to pursue this.
Let me ask you this, because The Rock has obviously now paved the way for guys like Batista and Cena to have that separation. Like, you don't watch Guardians of the Galaxy and you're like, oh, there's,
Dave Bautista.
Evolution Dave Batista. You don't watch Peacemaker and go, oh, there's, hustle, loyalty, respect John Cena. Like, you're able to separate now, where back like 10 years ago, I don't think you Rock still had that stigma of being
Scorpion King was weird.
Well, here's why. Guardians of the Galaxy comes after Dave Batista is pretty much retired from full time wrestling.
Correct.
Peacemaker, Suicide Squad, anything else Cena has done as an actor, like after he's done full time wrestler. Scorpion King comes out almost right around the time Rock's about to take off as a sports entertainer. No,
Scorpion King comes out 2000 or 2000. Well,
I thought it was 99.
Well, he did 99 was when The Mummy came out, and then he was in The Mummy Returns, and then he got the Scorpion King from The Mummy Returns.
Right.
So Mummy Returns, I think, was 02, 03, 02, because he left and then came back and then left again. You know what I mean? But again, for a long time, The Rock had that stigma of, oh, it's the wrestler, The Rock, playing an actor. Now it's just The Rock.
Now it's just the actor. Yeah.
It's just the actor, The Rock. So I think The Rock has made it now where you can separate John Cena from being, there's still a portion of the audience that's not going to be able to separate that. Like the younger, and I'm not talking the 12 to 14-year-olds. I'm talking like the
6, 7, 8-year-olds. But
the
like,
6 to 10-year-olds.
he hasn't been around long enough now. If he shows up on SmackDown, say 6 months from now, do 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds know who he is? Care about him?
Who? Cena?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to know him more as an actor at this point.
That's
than
what
they
I'm
will-
saying.
yeah.
As Super Cena, John Cena, the WWE hustle, loyalty, respect coming out.
But that doesn't happen.
That's
without-
been gone for 6 years now.
But that doesn't happen without The Rock being who The Rock is at this point. I think The Rock paid.
No,
for
I know.
that.
But what I'm saying is, if he were to come back now,
He's more of an actor than a
I
wrestler.
think his kid, like the kids, because he's always been John's for the kids, which is great. We love him for it. He's been gone from wrestling for 6 years now. So if somebody was 5 years old, when Cena left full time, they're 11 now.
Right.
So anybody who knows Cena the wrestler as a young kid is in that 12 to 14 age group now. Like, is an 8-year-old that's watching wrestling right now, if we put on Raw and you got your 7-year-old or your 8-year-old son, Cena comes out, they're not going to know who the fuck he is. They're not going to resonate with him as a wrestler.
There's no one they resonate with.
Well,
No, I think they resonate with the Usos. I think they resonate with
No, they
the
don't.
New Day.
yeah.
The
The
New
New
Day,
Day,
not the
for sure.
Usos.
Well,
AJ Styles.
I guess.
Randy Orton and Riddle.
Riddle for sure.
Riddle
Alpha
for sure.
Academy.
I'll tell you what, Alpha Academy is. We didn't really talk about this in our current, but Chad Gable is doing wonderful things.
Yeah, they are for
He is.
sure.
I mean, I just have to say.
Let's bring it back to the Nexus because we're getting a little off track here. I mean, is the best match they're involved in that SummerSlam match?
best angle, best match.
Yeah, I guess.
Best everything.
It all builds to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe their best angle is when they came out. They introduced themselves and destroyed the ring. That's their best angle, and their best match is definitely the SummerSlam match.
Yeah.
And that's really all there is to talk about. I mean, it's a two event thing. I mean,
It's a definite what if.
It's a good story of what could have been, which, the history of pro wrestling.
And
is-
what was, though. Because
And what was.
we still see those guys
yeah.
that rose to prominence beyond that. You know what I mean?
I mean, to be honest with you, there's not really too much else to be said about the Nexus. I mean, you could talk about who was in there and where they've been, but it's like it didn't benefit them as much as it needed to, and it wasn't. I mean, for that 3-month time period, biggest story in WWE.
All right. So this is how it sounds like we're
gonna
pretty
wrap
much
it, yeah.
wrapping it up, right? So this is how I'm going to wrap it up. For all parties involved, make it a simple, broad, for the
Broad
company,
stroke.
for the company, for the industry, for the 7 or 8 men involved. Nexus was a flop or not?
Not a flop. For me, not a flop.
I don't
Just
see it.
Not a flop.
Just for me. I'm not saying. I mean, you could.
I think I'm always going to view it as a flop and
That's-
more about what could have been.
Like
than
I
what
said,
was.
if you're viewing it as what could have been, it was a flop. But if you're viewing it as what it was,
well,
then
you don't
it was
look
a
at what
success.
could have been if what was worth it, right? You don't look like
I guess,
like
yeah.
Wade Barrett did go on to have a nice run, and he was a great worker, and he was one of my favorite guys in that 2012 to 2015
Bad
timeline.
news, Barrett.
Then he eventually became Bad News
All right,
Barrett and got stomped out.
Can I equate it to something? I'm going to equate it to the 2006 New York Mets. We were talking about that as we were coming in today. And the 2006 New York Mets will always hold a special place in my heart. They didn't win. It's a team that went and Carlos Beltran. The lasting memory everybody has about the 2006 Mets is Carlos Beltran striking out with the bat on his shoulder with the bases loaded. But forever, I will remember that season as like the Mets dominated the National League that year.
Yeah.
They had the best record in the National League. They were a great team to watch, a fun team to watch, hitting home runs. Jose Reyes stealing bases, playing a phenomenal defensive shortstop. David Wright coming into his own as a superstar. And was this a season a success? I mean, do you consider them getting to the National League Championship Series and losing in 7 games a success?
Yes.
Or is that a failure of a season? And the Nexus headline SummerSlam, arguably the second or third biggest pay-per-view of that, of every year is SummerSlam. So from that standpoint, in my mind, the Nexus was a success because it got WWE through 3 months of storyline, a quarter of the year.
I think part of it for me is definitely because that was in a dark, probably like late 2010 to like until I met you. Not really keeping up with wrestling, not watching it every now and then. Like watch Mania, watch catch shit when you catch it. But I wasn't super invested in that
It's not
point.
like you're watching Raw every week.
So I wasn't really and even like when we said we were gonna do Nexus, I sat there and I was like, who was in the Nexus? I'm like, well, I remember Barrett.
They
I
might
forgot Ryback was in the Nexus. I forgot I knew Daniel Bryan, I knew Barrett, I knew Heath, and I knew Darren Young, and that was it. I honestly, I always forget that Otunga existed.
They might have been more successful had they brought them on, not all at once. Like I think that if they established a few characters as like, maybe Barrett and a few other characters as, okay, this is the Nexus, this is who we are, kind of beat some people up, and then kind of bring in, we're growing. because it's so hard to have character development with 8 characters immediately. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people get lost in the.
I feel like that was done by design though, because it's like the easy way. You put one logo on 8 faces, and it's easier to fucking package it.
No, I get it, but it's like
know?
it's like let's find.
It's like Costco.
This is the only way I
It's
could
like
see it working
Costco
out
selling
better.
the variety
You know?
packs. Like we're gonna put
So-
2 flavors you like and 2 flavors you don't, but you gotta buy all.
So
4.
here's the gimmick. Here's the gimmick with like the Shield. Okay, 3 guys we didn't know, just like there was 8 guys we didn't know, right? In theory. And I feel like with the Shield, we learned fairly quickly. All right, these guys hit hard. We learned fairly quickly that Ambrose talks, that the Seth Rollins is kind of like the brains behind the operation, and that Reigns is the tough guy. Like I think we learned that fairly quickly.
There are other things that I thought I learned. Like I thought Reigns sucked initially.
Oh, we all did.
I thought Reigns sucked initially in the ring, on the mic, as it for character development
Yeah.
for all of it. And I thought Rollins would for sure fucking be hurt the way he worked and be out. And I thought, not only I thought, when Rollins picked the stick up in the early days of the Shield, you can see Dean like, what are you doing? Give me the mic. You're going to ruin this for us. And he wasn't great on the stick. And all 3 of them are a top promo now.
Fine, but
so it wasn't like they showed up and everything was on fucking fire
but we
from day
knew,
one.
but we knew we could assign a
Roles?
role for them, right? And then in Nexus, it's like everybody shows up wearing the same shirt, and they're like, "We're here!" Like, and you're like, "All right, cool. I know Wade, I got that." But Justin Gabriel, like, who's this guy? He just flies around, like, or you know what I mean? Like, you didn't get a good assessment of those guys. So I feel like I said, if they started with maybe Barrett and well, I know Daniel Bryan because you can't really, right? But if they started with a few guys, you learned about them. You got to know them, and then another guy showed up with a mask on, and they throw him a T-shirt and say, "Now you're part of it." You know what I mean?
Well, let's put it this way. In 10 years ago, how old were you guys?
18.
18. So 10 years ago, I was 29 years old, and to me, this was an interesting storyline. I think if you ask somebody who was 10 at that point, what do they think of the Nexus?
They hate them.
Well, they probably view them as a great heel, great group of heels. I mean, it all depends on your perspective of how you look at it. Also, you know what I mean? Like for us, you guys were 18 years old. You had just graduated high school or just about to graduate high school, and neither one of you were really heavily into wrestling. And just looking at it to where these guys all went to, like, no, was Nexus responsible for all this guy's success? No, but a lot of the guys who debuted, they don't necessarily have that success. So I think it's just a matter of it was a great 3-month run, and that's what it was. I think that's
you got to take it for face value. It just, for me, especially the older I get, like, character development is a huge thing, and like being able to like see different sides of you, and like different aspects of. It's not just what you do in the ring. It's not, unfortunately, because if it was like that, then there are a bunch of people that probably didn't get the.
I mean,
the flowers.
fucking Glacier would be a top 20 guy of all time.
So
if it was just about what you did.
Right.
In the ring.
So.
But I know I was just being.
But still, that's what I'm saying.
Good callback.
It was hyperbole. Yeah.
Good call.
But yeah, that wraps up.
Wait.
No, I mean, I think we said all we could say.
Yeah. So, as always, we're brought to you by House of Havoc Podcasting, Tiger Pack Productions, Sachi Di Dinero, Stay Thirsty Company. You're either Nexus or against this.